And that is why, especially at this time of year with Christmas coming up, you should never, ever say poo to a goose.
Oh.
Now, some people will say, is it boo? But no, it's definitely poo.
Oh, I see. I never knew that.
I know. It's an old tradition.
I see. Right. Well, thank you for that.
No worries at all. Oh, it looks like the delirium has spat out at a tree.
It's frosted tips and everything.
Back to the 90s. Oh, hello. Welcome back. That was terribly contrived again, but you knew that anyway. You've come to expect nothing less from us, have you? Hopefully. Anyway, hello. Welcome back to Maybe Movies. We are on Wednesday.
Yes, we are. Yes, Wednesday. Wednesday.
Thank you to everyone who did stop in and watch last week's episode. Huge uptick. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You'll know that this month we are looking at It's a Wonderful Life and Scrooged. One quick apology. When I was making our fake DVD covers for our theoretical films, I kind of got the titles mixed up and didn't put them in the right place. So they should look like this. And the one that's still on screen is the one that we're going to be looking at, the Act 1 of today. Just before we do, as we always do, a very quick shout out. And today is for another one of our Twitter friends. Is for Jen, whose channel I believe is called Gen X. It might be Gen X Official. I can't remember. You'll know because there'll be a big thing in face of my face at the moment. That's from her page. Jen is a musician from Wales, and she is a huge cat lover as well.
Oh, well. Yay.
So please do go and check out her channel and give her some love. And with that done and out of the way, shall we proceed? Oh, no, hang on. There is...
Oh, no, the pouring.
The pouring must happen first, not the burning, because that's... But if you haven't seen The Burning, do go and watch it, because it's a fantastic film.
I've never... No, it was one of the video nasties, man.
It was, yes.
I never saw it. It got banned long before I even thought about looking at it. Ooh, hot.
It is hot, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. That's the way we want it.
Act 1 of It's a Scrooged Life.
So this is Francis Xavier in Bedford Falls, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Right.
There's a couple of things that we didn't get a chance to speak about last week.
Oh yes.
But very quickly, what we have decided in the interim is that it's not just our protagonists, our main characters, that we're going to switch place or switch films. We kind of figured that their immediate families need to as well, because so much about who these two guys are is based not only just on their nature, but also to a large extent on their nurture as well.
In fact, that's a thing that both of the films kind of focus on.
Absolutely, yeah. They spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
So we figured that it would make sense, because I don't think either of us could see Francis Cross becoming the man that he becomes if he had George Bailey's dad or Peter Bailey as his father.
Exactly. Yeah. No. It just wouldn't happen.
No.
That
was the kind of the main sort of preliminary stuff that I had. I think the only exception that we needed to move, or who actually remains in his original film, is Uncle Billy.
Yes, because it's Uncle Billy's mistake that causes everything to happen in
Exactly.
It's a Wonderful Life. So he has to be there, or at least someone like him. And quite frankly, I can't think of anyone like him in Scrooged.
No.
I
can't remember though. The only thing I can remember is Cross's. I can remember his brother's name.
James. I had to. You know what? It's not even listed on IMDb.
Oh, is it not?
No. Well, if it is, but it's way down the list. And it was when I was watching the film, and it's literally right at the end of the film. You know the bit when he says the bit about the answer to what boat took them to Gilligan's Island?
Yes.
He says, the SS Minnow, James.
Of course
the
he does.
SS Minnow.
Yes.
And that's how I know his name's James.
Brilliant. So we've got James, we've got, obviously, Francis. Did they ever say what his dad's name is? I don't think they do they?
They're just mother and father.
Okay.
In Scrooged.
So this is going to be very different, because obviously he's, so he would have been born, about 1910, something like that in this? Because I know the first bit where he saves his brother is 1919.
You're right, he's about 9 or 10.
It's not really a scene for me, but I just thought the opening bit with the angels in heaven meeting and talking.
Joseph and God and
Yes.
Clarence and everything. Yes.
I'm wondering then if we start this film, if we flip it on its head, and you've got this list of people who are asking for, it's Christmas Eve, thanking the Lord and all this kind of thing, but going out of their way to say, but not Francis Xavier Cross. And you have one voice that is saying to look out for him.
All right. I mean, I like the idea, but what's the one voice? Who's this one voice? Is it brother? Or
This is where I think part of the storyline is going to mirror Scrooged, where he doesn't get the girl until the end. Unless you want to have him have the family and everything as well. I hadn't made any decision on it.
No, I hadn't. Because again, that's changing Frank's life.
Yeah, exactly.
And changing who he is.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about doing that at all. No.
Okay, because I didn't know whether it would be, in this case it would be Mary, who's his, she's the one who never kind of gives up on him. And hers is the one voice. And because we haven't been introduced to any of the characters
right.
yet.
And no, it's not Mary, it's Claire.
I thought immediate family. I didn't know if significant others would...
Well, they're immediate family.
When I say immediate family, to me that means blood relatives.
But by being married, they become blood relatives by creating children?
I suppose then we need to establish, are we moving Claire as well? Or is Mary in this going to be his Claire?
No, I mean, because that feels like that would be... Again, it's changing Frank. It's changing who he is.
That's cool. Again, as I said, for me, when I say immediate family, I'm talking about his father, mother, brother, things like this.
Oh, you're making me think about this. He's making me think. I don't like it. The cogs, they hurt.
That's why you need more mulled wine. It warms the brain.
Yeah, mulled wine.
But I'm happy with either. It doesn't bother me either way.
I just hadn't thought about it.
But it does make sense, and it would still work because there's similar kind of traits there in both Mary and Claire. They're both very giving people. So they are, in that respect, interchangeable.
Yes, they're both very giving people, but Mary is giving to those who are close to her, whereas Claire gives to everyone around her.
Yes.
So they are different people. But does that matter? Does it matter?
No, it does matter, because, again, in the same way that, as he says, as Mrs. Bailey says, Mary's got all of the answers, and what I think is going to happen in this film is it's Claire's giving nature to others. That's what's part of what wins Francis over.
Of course, yes, of course.
That's what makes him be a lot more magnanimous with the company and things like that.
Yes, this is the thing. Mary became the spinster librarian in the other world. Claire would never be that person.
No.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
I think it matters who they love.
Yes. So the one voice that is asking for something beneficial for him would be Claire's then.
Okay. So even after all these years. Yeah, no, that does make sense. Yeah.
There's elements in this story that's almost like an analogy of the story of Job from the Bible. How much can God shit on somebody
before they lose faith?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good point.
And it was like, so then do we want to change it up and have it like the story of Job? It's a conversation between God and the devil. But
yeah, we're changing the story.
That's what I thought. Yeah. It's a nice thing, it's nice to speculate on, but I just thought you'd have this constellation and then just this black hole.
But I'm assuming that we're going to begin much in the same way that It's a Wonderful Life begins. So rather than flashing back to Frank's previous existence, we're getting it now at the beginning.
Yeah. So are we saying, first of all, then, that he'd still save his brother? Because I know you said last week that he does have some redeeming qualities in his youth.
That's the little boy we meet in 1955.
Yeah.
It's his father who's the cynical one. He's still the innocent little boy at that point. And he would save his little brother. And I think that would be still the same, because at this point, Frank is still that innocent little boy who means well.
And so we're saying that he gets the... Who?
Oh. Are we getting a visit from our own spirit?
I think we are. Hang on. Let me put the spirits in.
Oh no, it's gone.
Oh, I see. It's like that
gone.
now, is it?
Yeah.
He's developing a personality.
We're not actually planning this, folks. This is spontaneous.
We will leap then forward to the bit with I was going to say Mr. Garrison. It's not Mr. Garrison, is it?
Mr. Gower.
Mr. Gower.
Yeah, Mr. Gower's grief.
Yes. Again, I suppose at that point it'll be the same.
Yes.
The only thing that I thought might be different, and it might be a nice little kind of like a seed there, is when he goes to visit his dad, and he's getting that dressing down from Potter.
Mm-hmm.
If we're saying that his dad is obviously, well, we are saying that his dad is still the father that we know from Scrooged.
Yes.
This may be the first time that he, as a child, sees him as a weak man. That kind of puts that germ of kind of, I was going to say viciousness, but that kind of callousness into young Francis.
All right. Seeing his father essentially beg to Potter.
Yeah.
Hardens him against the world, makes him realise that being weak.
You've got that kind of, oh well, you know, when I'm an adult, I'm not going to let anyone talk to me like that.
Seeing his father being humiliated by Mr. Potter and it hardening his resolve, I can see that working very well. Even though at the same time he's trying to be the good boy and doing the thing with Mr. Gower.
Yes.
It's instead of him seeing his dad being bullied and standing up to a bully, it's him seeing his dad being just bullied.
Yes.
And realising that his dad can't help him, which is why he leaves.
Exactly.
Because he goes in the same way that Jimmy does, with the hope that dad knows best, and realises that dad doesn't know anything.
That absolutely, but also it shows that there is a pecking order, and that his father isn't at the top of that pecking order.
Yes, he's a powerful man, but not that powerful.
Yeah, I can be. You know, there are people bigger than you, and I'm going to be one of them.
Okay, yeah. So instead of I'm going to travel one day, it's I'm going to be bigger than you one day. Yeah. Okay. So he still has the big suitcase, but the suitcase is his business.
Oh yes,
not his travel thing.
So he's going. So instead of a suitcase, it'll be
I'm
a briefcase.
big important businessman. Here's my briefcase.
Yeah, like oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Oh yes, that is nice.
Oh well, thank you. I'll take that. I'll take a win.
Cheers. And I suppose this is also the scene then when we introduce Claire.
Yes, it would be. That would be Claire because it's a small town.
And Violet as well.
Of course, yes, of course, and Violet. Next bit is. Hang on. So it's the suitcase, and then I think that's the. Then it's dinner. Which is obviously going to be very different.
Does say I'm proud of you, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Which obviously we won't get here.
We won't. No, it'd be the other thing. It'd be I'm not doing what you've done. Mm-hmm. You failed. Yeah. I've seen you fail. I'm going to do something else.
And then he goes off to his brother's graduation. Mm-hmm. And again, there was a moment there in this scene where I wondered, should it be Francis who's the one who opens up the pool? But then again, it was no, too soon, and also it breaks the story, so that it wouldn't work. You can see he's the kind of person that probably would. Yeah. But in this situation, no, because we're still establishing his good chops, shall we say? It's still at this point. Yeah. Because this is again where he gets to dance with Claire. Yes. And we get to see Bill Murray doing the Charleston.
Oh, random fact. Did you notice that his dad is his brother? Bill Murray's brother played his father in the Christmas past scenes.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. You
wow.
Go look at the cast list. Yeah.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so his brother played his dad.
How weird is that? We get that scene was going to play out pretty much the same way. Yeah.
Because that's like... This scene is the equivalent to that lovely Christmas Eve they have together.
Yeah. I did wonder when they get to the point where he's throwing the stones at the... we looked at it earlier, didn't we? At the Granville House.
The Granville House, yes.
I did wonder whether he's the one who's like, I want to live in that house. It's the biggest house on the street.
Oh.
So, yeah. So sense of his avarice at that point.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. I kind of like the idea. Yeah. Yes, because then you've got Claire obsessed with making wishes, and him going, yeah, but I want to live there one day. Yeah. I want to own that house because it's so big and fancy. And she's like, no, you got to make a wish.
I mean, she'd even say, just think about how many homeless people we could shelter. I'm wondering then if, rather than calling him Lumpy, because they don't obviously bang heads, I was trying
Smashy.
Either smashy or because they fall into the pool. I was going to say something like sloppy or something, but that's drippy. Drippy.
Drippy? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that could work.
So they make their wishes and then they get the news about his dad.
Yes.
And we leap forward. It's 3 months, isn't it, when they're having the board meeting?
Yes.
Are we saying he's going into this with the intent of taking it over?
Yes, of course, because how else is he going to finance his radio station?
Fair enough. So we're going to go with that as well, that he's really...
I was going to go the other way. I was going to go no, screw that, I'm not doing it with my dad, I'm not throwing my life away, and him walking away and it becoming a different story.
We're translating George's desire for foreign travel with Cross's desire to start a radio station in the town that keeps getting scuppered because of his...
Well, because they're almost always on the verge of earning enough money for them to be able to finance it.
Yes, oh yeah, I like that, yeah.
And that's why he takes over the bank and loan, is because, no, I'm going to prove you wrong, and we're going to make enough money, and I'm going to finance my goddamn station.
So that speech is, as you say, my dad wasn't a businessman, but you're not dealing with my dad, now you're dealing with me.
Yeah.
Which, again, those speeches, as you were saying earlier, by Frank Capra, coming from Bill Murray, would be fantastic. I think you'd really sort of add something to them as well. I mean, they're fantastic from Jimmy Stewart anyway.
Yeah.
But you'd get a different energy from them with Bill Murray.
You think this thing's a waste of time. I'm going to prove to you that not only is it a waste of time, it's going to finance this town, or finance my way into...
Yeah.
It's going to make me famous, it's going to make me rich, it's going to do whatever. You are just too blind to see it.
Unfortunately, he's already in that mindset of everyone will fall into line and do what I want to do so that I can go off and do my thing, without realising that the people that come to the building alone, they have their own wants and needs that don't always figure into his overall plan.
Well, I was going to say, one way or another, this seems to be the point where I think the characters are going to take their divergent paths.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're both saving the building alone, they're doing it for very different reasons. So this is where we start to see Frank start to become he starts to turn his heart away from people.
Yeah, because he's got, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, not so much skim off the top, but he's going to make sure that he's putting enough aside for that, irrespective of what other people need.
Yeah.
Okay, that works. This is at a time, obviously, Claire's not there, she's off at school. So you've still got Violet around town as well, around this time?
Yes, no, right. It's after the board meeting, we do a time jump of 4 years.
That's right. Which brings us up to 1932, I believe.
Yeah. And that's when Harry comes home with his wife.
Yes.
No, obviously not Harry in this case. James comes home with his wife, Wendy.
Yes, of course, because it's Ruth, isn't it, in the film?
I think so. It's not one of the names I noted down, because he only has like 2 lines in the whole movie.
But yeah, so he comes back with Wendy, and that's where his mum kind of gets him to go off to go and see, in this case, Claire.
Yeah.
Who's just come back from school.
So he's been working hard these last few years, building up the building alone. Harry comes home with his wife and he realises he's not going to be able to palm off the
business
day-to-day running of the business and be able to do his thing. So once again, his dreams are scuppered.
Cross is, again, he's a very ambitious guy. Do we think then that he's worried that James will want to step into the business because it's taken away from his authority?
In my mind, he'd want James to take over the business so that he could then invest his time in building a radio station.
But he'd still want to be the director, so he
Yeah.
can just sit back and rake in the profits from
Of course.
it. Yes, yeah, that makes sense.
At some point, his fortunes have to change. We can't give him the fortunes of George Bailey.
Well, this thing with Claire is going to go south. They're not going to end up being married, are they?
The next thing we've got would be Frank and Violet flirting in the street.
Oh yes, of course, because he goes, we have that, and then he goes to Claire's, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of his last hurrah. It's let's go dance naked in a meadow kind of thing. And it's his last hurrah being a liberated person, and she turns him away. So I know this sounds weird, but you know the bit, because the next bit is
It's at Claire's house, well, it'd be Claire's house
George
now.
and Mary and the conversation over the phone.
Yes.
That's the bit when Sam Wainwright goes, I've got a big inn, we can make a lot of money.
Yes.
So this is where it turns. So he turns, instead of turning to Claire and kissing her like he does Mary, he takes Sam's investment opportunity.
He takes the call, is more interested in that. Ooh, yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's the point where he turns away from that track of George Bailey's life and starts becoming that other guy.
Yeah, so he wants to. So he heavily invests in the plastics thing.
So instead of the wedding and Black Monday, how do we deal with that?
So instead of having that, you would have the opening of his radio. Or was that too soon? Oh no, we don't into that. It would have the opening of the factory that he's invested in.
So instead of having the wedding, we have opening day and Black Monday.
Opening day for the radio station?
For the radio station. So he has to keep the building loan open so that he can continue to finance the radio station.
Yeah. Are we saying, because we were talking about the factory from Sam Wainwright and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Are we saying then instead, sorry, in case I misconstrued it, that what he actually does is he convinces Sam to invest in his radio station rather than the factory?
I didn't think that far. I just thought, well, it's a really good financial investment and it would make the building and loan rich.
Yes.
Which is what I was thinking. I didn't necessarily think that he would directly invest.
Because then he becomes the boss. Because rather than everyone, as you were saying earlier, rather than the fact that he does the investment with Sam, and that's what gives a lot of people in the town their jobs.
He does the investment and finances the radio station.
And he will come and work for him. Or he gets people to come and work for him at the station.
Yeah.
And he's also got them tied up with the building and loan.
Yeah.
So he's becoming
that guy.
Yeah.
Which is what we need him to do.
Yes.
But that does pretty much bring us to the end of the first act.
It certainly does. That was really easy.
Yeah.
That was a lot easier than I was expecting
it to be.
A
lot more complicated, but yeah, that pretty much brings us up to that.
And
second act is going to get different because it's going to change a lot from
absolutely
George Bailey's trajectory.
And so I suppose we can have Claire kind of in the middle doing what she does for the homeless, but these are kind of like the rejects, not only from the Depression, but those who've not been able to keep up their payments either to Potter or to Frank. So she's getting the detritus from both, if you like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's nice. Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. That was a lot quicker and a lot easier than I think either of us thought it was going to be.
It was significantly easier.
Yes. So please do come back as always and join us on Friday when we will be launching into Act 2 of It's a Scrooged Life, and we can see how much more Francis Xavier Cross can squeeze out of the people of Bedford Falls.
Indeed we will.
Until then, take care and have a good couple of days.
As always, guys, TTFN.
Ba 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 ba.